Hey developers, today I'm going to show you guys Buddy. Buddy is an awesome tool. It helps you with all your CI/CD, that's your continuous integration, continuous deployment operations for your app. What's nice about it is you don't need to be a DevOps expert to use Buddy. It's really intuitive, really easy to use. It has a really cool user experience where you can just add these actions. They have over 100 different predefined actions. That makes it really simple to use and set up. But you can also use a YAML file if you want a more complex setup as well. So I'm going to show you how to get started with Buddy. I'm going to take my Vue app that I have here, and I'm going to get it up and running on Buddy, and I'll show you guys how it works. So let's begin. Okay, so what we want to do now is we're going to create an account through Buddy, and then I have this really simple app. If you've been following along with the channel, I've been creating this app and adding things to it, and it's really simple. All it does is you click the increment dog counter, and it increments this dog count at the top, and if you click the get dogs button, it shows you a random dog image. The code for that is right here. It's some random dog images. It's just a couple different components, and that's all it is. I do have some tests. I have some end-to-end tests that I ran through Cypress that should pass, and I also have a unit test, that a couple unit tests that all should pass as well. So I want to see if I can get this all up and running inside the Buddy CI here, and we'll have the deployment working. Also, one other thing I did is I actually have this website on a S3 bucket, so I want to see if I can get some automatic deployment every time I push to GitHub. So I have all the code on GitHub here, so I want to see if I push to master that I can automatically get it deployed to the S3 bucket. So first thing we need to do, we can sign in to Buddy, and by the way, it has some pro and hyper features, but you can get a free account. So I recommend everybody that's watching this video go to buddy.works. There's a link in the description of this video. Click on that link, open up buddy.works, and sign up for your free account. It's really fun to just play around with, and you get 5 projects and 500 meg cache for free and 1 gigabyte and 2 vCPUs. And so it's perfect for any of your projects you're working on, or if you're at your company and you're looking for a really easy, simple to use CI/CD pipeline, then this would be the way to go. So I'm just going to sign in, and we'll get started here. I'm going to sign in with my GitHub. And it's going to bring me to this page. So I have no projects in this workspace. So let's create a new project. I'm going to create a new project. And it's going to ask me to select my repository. And it just takes a moment here to load. And you can see here, here's all the projects. I know the one I want is called Vue plugin example. So I'm just going to scroll all the way to the bottom. I have a lot of stuff on GitHub, if you haven't noticed. So Vue plugin example, I'm going to click here. It's synchronizing it. Automate your Vue.js application. Add a new pipeline. Perfect. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to call this build, test, and deploy. And I'm going to do the trigger. I'm going to do it on a push to the master branch. So that is going to be like the trigger that does everything for me. And of course, if I had more branches, I could do something fancy. When it goes to develop, I could have it go to my staging environment, or on master, it goes to production. I can kind of change around that. Also, I can make it manual, so that way maybe master only you have to manually trigger it to go to production, but development automatically goes to the staging environment. I mean, you can set up things like that. And I'll just, I'm not going to worry about the more options for right now, but I'm going to add a new pipeline. And now this is where it becomes really easy. Now you could use YAML files. You can, that's another way where you can configure this. But what's really nice about Buddy is it's all this really simple UI to create all these actions and do things that you want to do. So I'm going to keep it simple here. Let's say it tells us right away that we're using SSH, detected Node.js. You can see it has options for SFTP, FTP. It has transfer options and some DevOps stuff, and it has some run commands in dedicated environments. So I can have, like, if I was using an Angular project, I can have it run commands in Angular or Ember CLI or Elia and anything like that. Essentially what it's doing is it's grabbing like an image file that has Ember CLI or Angular CLI installed so I can run commands through there. I still have build tools. You can see Grunt, Gulp, Maven, GC, Webpack, static site generators. If I was using a Hexo, Hugo, Jekyll, I could use that. And then I can deploy. If I'm using Heroku, Rackspace, it has all these built-in ones for me. It has S3, which we'll add in a little bit. And I can use some Google Cloud Platform. I can even just use my own Docker images if I want. Kubernetes, Android. Just goes on and on. There's so many things here. You can even put in performance if you wanted to have everything go to your Datadog service or Rollbar. If you're using Sentry.io for like errors, you can even add that to the pipeline. You can use uptime, and then I can even notify in Slack as well, which we'll take a look at as well. But for now, let's see if we can get the most simplest thing. I'm just going to use Node.js right now. And it tells me, like, what do you want to do in your node? So if we just go back to our terminal here, I mean, the simplest thing we want to do is make sure that we can build our app and run tests. So if we look in our package.json file, which we'll bring up here, package JSON, you can see here at the top we have serve. We don't care about that, but we have this build command, so we can npm run build. We can also have testing for unit and end-to-end. So we're not going to worry about end-to-end testing, but let's see if we can just build it. So npm, we're going to have to actually do npm install. We're going to do npm run build, which should build it. And let's do this. If we do npm run test unit, that should run our unit tests. So let's add that in there, npm, and this will detect if there's errors. Run test unit. So those are the three actions. I just want to install, obviously, all the npm dependencies. I'm going to build it, and then I'll run test unit to see if it passes and see if it works. So I'm going to add this action. And that's the first action I have listed. So I can have actions when it fails. So these actions will only run if the primary action has failed. This is useful setting notifications that will inform you in case something goes wrong. And then I can have actions be run if the pipeline status changed from failed to successful. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just run this pipeline and see what happens. And I can put a comment in there, but I'm going to just do test. I'm going to run now. And you can see here, it's preparing the environment completed, and now it's executing the npm run test unit. So if I click log here, and I can see what it's doing in real time. So it's doing the npm install, and we'll see if it succeeds here. All right, so you see here, it did everything. It ran the two tests, everything passed. The build completed successfully, it completed. There was no errors. And you can see here at the top, it says it passed. So that's the first, and here's, if I look at our pipelines, the build, test, deploy, this all worked for our app here. So I should be able to have this triggered on when I'm doing a merge to master. So let's create a pull request real quickly. So if I look inside my app here, I don't have any updates, so I'll just make a quick change. Let's say I'll go to my home, and I'll say random dog images by Erik. I'm going to save it. If I go run a get status, I had a modifications. I'm going to add it all, and I do a quick get message, updated text, and now I'm going to push it. And so we went ahead and pushed it, so that should have triggered an execution. So you can see here's updated text. I went ahead and triggered it, and now it's running all the tests here to see if it works, to see if I broke anything. Once again, it's running the npm install and everything again, and it's all cached, so it should be quicker this time. The one thing that takes a little bit extra time, probably the building for production. So this time one of the tests failed because I changed the text. It used to say random dog images by Erik, and now it used to say random dog images, and now it says random dog images by Erik. You can see now the build failed. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. If I look back at my tests, and I can look at my unit tests, I see random dog images, but now I need to put by Erik so that it passes. And that should be okay. Actually, oh, it's just some formatting issues there, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to run, just to make sure I run it, I'm going to run it locally first to see if it passes. Okay, now both of them pass again. And so now I should be able to push this back up. So I'm going to, okay, I went ahead and pushed it again. Now if I go back over here, I can see here for my test, I have a third one. Had update text, now remove text. Now this is in progress. So it's running all the commands again, and we'll see if this passes. Which it should, because I fixed the test. Cool, everything's passed. You see that was really fast. And so this one passed as we expected. We can also, let's create a pull request to see what happens. So I'm going to create a branch called PR1. And if I'm in my branch here, now I'm going to check out PR1. Get checkout. Let me spell that right. All right, so now inside this branch, I'm going to push up a pull request. Okay, so let's make a quick change here. Let's just add in another h2 tag that says, let's go. And now I'm going to push this up as a pull request. Okay, I pushed up the pull request. And you can see here it is. If I compare the pull request, and I create the pull request here. All right, so now that we have this PR up, I actually want on every PR for something to happen. I want it to run our tests to make sure everything is correct before I merge it. So this one actually, this pipeline I created here will run it on when it gets merged. That's how I have it set when it's merged into master, but I actually want it to run on the PRs itself. So I can create a new pipeline to do that. So I'm going to click here, add a new pipeline. I'm going to call Vue plugin PR check. And then what I do is I put it on push, but this time instead of single branch, I put branch by wildcard. And that will put this right here, and I'll add this new pipeline. And then I'll do Node.js here, and I'll kind of do the same thing I did before. I'll do the node npm install, and then I'll do the npm run test unit, and then also npm build, npm run build. So I just want to make sure all three of those work before someone can merge. So I'm going to add this action. Cool, so it's in there right now. Now this pull request is already in there, so let me make a quick update and I'll push it up. So I'll do let's go 1 here. It's a simple example. Okay, so I went ahead and pushed. And now you can see this buddy pipeline now is checking to see if it works. And if we go back into our buddy pipeline here, so if we go to our in progress here, you can see it's in progress and it's running this first execution, which is the update. So we can take a look at it. If we click here and look at the logs, we can see, okay, it's downloading Cypress, it's doing the npm install. So let's see if this works. Okay, everything passed. So we can see here it executed correctly. Everything passed here. Now if we look inside GitHub, we see all checks passed. So if we click all checks, everything passed with our pipeline that we set up that runs on every pull request. So now we know this is good and we can go ahead and merge it. And I'm not going to, well, let's go ahead and merge this because why not? If I merge it, then what you'll see is if I go back to our pipelines in Buddy, now it's running the build, test, and deploy because I merged to the master because I have that action right here. So now it's trying to run the tests one more time, and then it's going to merge it well, in this case, it's just going to run the test because that's all we have set up. So, but this should be a lot quicker because all it's doing is running a few tests, and all the npm install is cached. So you can see here it just took a few seconds and everything's fine. And this execution 4 ran correctly. Let's add in some end-to-end tests as another task. So to do that, we can click the plus button here. And if you remember, I'm actually using Cypress. So they actually have Cypress as one of the actions here. It's a predefined action, which is right here. So I can click on it. And then it asks me to what I need to run to get it working. Now there's a few ways of doing this. I found this way works for me the best. I was testing this out earlier, but I'm doing an npm install and then an npm install. And now it says in the official documentation for Cypress to use this wait on library. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use it and install it globally. You can actually set this up probably as an environmental in the environmental customization section. But just for the simple example, I'm gonna just do it this way. And then I'm gonna run npm run serve, which will run the server in the background. And then I'm gonna do this wait on command and make sure that the server is running. If you don't have this wait on, you can have this possibility where the server isn't completely started by the time you run your Cypress tests. And then I'm going to run the node modules folder, and I'm just going to run the Cypress bin Cypress. And if you do run, which actually runs it in headless mode. I tried a few other ways when I was making this video. I tried to run the npx command, and I also tried a few other things. I was getting some weird caching issues, but this way works for me. And you can also use yarn. Yarn was working well too. And I'm going to run it one more time. And let's see through the logs, see if it works. Okay, great. Everything works. If I look at the raw logs, you can see here it ran my tests. Both the end-to-end tests passed, and everything's happy. And I get the green passed at the top. Perfect. So that's how we do a Cypress end-to-end test in here. Now, one thing we can also do is actually deploy changes to our bucket, our S3 bucket right here. So if we make changes, it'll display correctly. So I'm going to hit the plus arrow here, and we're going to go to the deploy section, and we're going to look for the S3, which is right here, Amazon Web Services. I can do S3. Now to connect this up, I'm going to go ahead and name the integration. So I'm going to call it deploy to S3. And off camera here, I'm going to go ahead and add this access key and secret access key. So let me do that. Okay, so I went ahead and put in my key information. So now I should be able to set the source path. So I can browse here, I can set the source path, and I'll just leave it / right here. Use the current, and it's gonna ask me what bucket I want to post it to. So I'm gonna put it into my Vue plugin website bucket, and I'm gonna do the deploy to S3. So I'm going to add this action. You can also do some options, ignore pass, action. I'm gonna leave all those default and just to add this action. New deployment action, action required. You have added a new deployment action. In this case, you should either run the pipeline from scratch or upload your files to server manually. What do you want to do? I've already uploaded the files manually, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to proceed. Oops, we actually need to do one more thing here. So what I need to do here is actually in this pipeline, actually the source path should be in the dist folder. So I'm going to set that. I'm going to save it. And I'm going to run the pipeline again, see what happens. And so first I turned off the Cypress test just to speed this up, but it's going to run the regular unit tests, it's going to build them. And then it's going to try to upload everything from the dist folder into the Amazon S3 bucket. So if we look at logs here, it went ahead and completed it, uploaded everything. There's no errors. So if I look at what's on here, you can see now is my new changes. Random dog images by Erik. Okay, let's see if we can actually do this through a push to master. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn this back on. So all three will run. And inside here, I'm going to change this to let's go by brought to you by Buddy. So if we look right now, we don't have, it just says let's go one there. So we'll have brought to you by Buddy. We'll save it, and now we'll go ahead and push this to master. All right, everything's pushed to master. Now we'll take a look. We go to our pipelines. We'll look at this execution here. And you can see here that the it's running the npm unit tests, that they're all passing. Everything passed. Now it's running the Cypress tests, which will just take a moment. Okay, and all those passed. And then finally, it's pushing everything to the S3 bucket, which it did really quickly. So if we look at the YouTube example here and refresh it. So this let's go one. Now it says let's go, brought to you by Buddy. So cool. So now our complete CI pipeline, CI CD pipeline is working. On every single push to master, it's pushing directly to our production website, or I guess this could be our testing website. It's also running our tests and everything, which is awesome, including our end-to-end tests. So let's do one more integration, since why not? I'm going back to actions. Let's see if we can have an action that just lets everyone know that everything got uploaded. So if we go here, here is our actions here. But we can go down here to add this first back. So there's actions to do if action runs on failure or it goes back to normal. But we can also just add a Slack integration here at the bottom. So if we filter actions for Slack, there it is. I click on it. I have just a really just test Slack account I created a long time ago. Here it is. So it's asking me if I want to give it access. I should sure allow. And once it allows it, I can send a message. I could do like Buddy pipeline executed by blah, blah, blah. So I can have this message be sent to a channel. So I'm just going to put it in the general channel for now. And then I can also, if I need to, I can make additional changes, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just add this action. So now it's doing everything from running the unit test, Cypress tests, uploading the plugin files, and then setting notification. So let's turn all these off and just see what happens when you just try to send a notification. And I'll call it Slack. By the way, right here, I don't have anything in the general channel right now. I'm just going to run it. It's okay, said it sent it. So look, there it is. So now here's my Buddy CI test deploy execution by Erik 21. It also has links to BuddyWorks. So I could see, hey, everything worked fine and it's all done. I'll spare you from me running it all the way from the beginning. I can obviously turn these all on and then have it run the send notification to the general channel after the whole pipeline is finished. But that's it. We could certainly go on here. I could add more actions. I could have failure conditions. So if one of these fails, then it also sends a message to the Slack channel with something different like failure. You can also, I can send it to like, I can add some extra analytics, but I think that's it. That's good for now. I hope this gives you a really quick example of what you can do. Well, not so quick, but a fairly in-depth example of a lot of the really neat stuff you can do with Buddy. Like I said, if you guys are interested, make sure you click on the link in the description below, sign up for it, try it out. It's really easy, and I highly recommend it. If you like this video, make sure you click the like button, and share it with your friends, especially if they're into CI/CD. Make sure you share this video so everybody can see it. Thanks.